So if you guys are in the Daf Yomi cycle, we're in Sanhedrin. Earlier in the cycle, on page 10, they were dealing with how many judges are required to determine the start of the year, start of the month. And they came to the conclusion that it's, 3, 5, or 7. So if you want to figure that out, please go to Daf 10 and read it for yourself. But the answer is, as in the words of Clifford, yes. But what's important about that is that this is all pre-Hillel 2, and Hillel 2 created a calendar that was set 19 years. It was 19 years long, and if you're in year 6, it's going to be identical to year 6 in the previous cycle. And they did that because Hillel 2 saw that in the very near future they were going to be without a Sanhedrin, and he was very right. And what we learn in Sanhedrin 10 is that the Sanhedrin is required to determine the new month and determine the new year. So what happened was then the Sanhedrin ratified his calendar, and that actually was the last real big court case that the Sanhedrin had. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. So as you know, we have a lunisolar calendar. And what that means, it's lunar, but yet it's also based on the solar calendar. And the lunar month, for those who are really interested, is 29 days, 12 hours, 43 minutes, and 12 seconds long, give or take. So that means that a lunar month or a lunar year is actually 354 days long. And as you know, the solar calendar is 365 and a quarter year, minus a little bit. So that means that there is a 11-year loss every year in the Jewish calendar. 11-day loss in the calendar every year. So that has to be caught up. Otherwise, we're going to end up having Passover in the winter. Now, the Torah does not mention anything about adding a leap month, but it does assign holidays to meteorological and agricultural seasons. Thereby, it necessitates the need for a leap month. And the 21st daf in Rosh Hashanah says, Rav Bar Huna Avin sent to Rava. When you see that the season of Tevet, which is winter, will extend to the 16th of Nisan, add an extra month to that year. And do not worry about finding an additional reason to justify making it a leap year. As it is written, observe the month of spring. And that comes from Devarim 16:1. That is to say, see to it that the spring equinox is in the first half of Nisan. One of the things the rabbis argued about was this: does the vernal and the autumnal equinoxes constitute the first day of the new season or the last day of the previous season? Any guesses? And I knew he was going to say yes, and it was the perfect setup because it can't be both. It's either going to be the first or it's going to be the last. Thank you, Clifford. I love you, buddy. But it is the first day. And it corresponds with the first crescent, is the first day of the month. The first month of Nisan is referred as the month of spring in the Torah. So Passover, which begins on the 15th of the month, is a spring holiday. So spring has to happen before that day. But also, we have Sukkot, and Sukkot is a fall holiday. And the fall holiday has to be in fall. And so if you were to take Hillel 2's calendar and look on the first day of each of these holidays, and then look for the vernal and the autumnal equinoxes, you will find that it aligns. That they always fall either in spring or in fall, depending on if it's Passover or Sukkot. The Great Sanhedrin, as I said, the last binding decision that they established was in 358, 359. And that was the establishment of Hillel II's calendar. And the Great Sanhedrin was actually disbanded in 425. So in that intermediate, those years in between, they really didn't do much as far as make really important decisions. And that also, interestingly enough, was the end of Moshe Rabbeinu's smicha. Thereafter, they no longer did smicha, and rabbis could not point to say my smicha came from Moshe Rabbeinu. So now it's like when they like the smicha that we have now, it doesn't go back to Moshe Rabbeinu any longer. Now back to Hillel 2. There's an interesting little tidbit. I haven't determined if it's fact or not, but there's a book called the Paranean. Yeah, Panarian. The Panarian. Yeah, and Epiphanius of Salamis wrote it, and he says that Hillel 2 on his deathbed. I tell you, my mouth just is not working today. That he actually converted to Christianity at that point. But like I said, I haven't decided if that's fact or not. But anyway, that's the halakhic moment, why we got the calendar that we have.